me. It's a bit like starting a Formula One race, and I can see which social media feeds are coming live, and that all depends on the timing as to which comes live. But all live. Hello, everyone. My name is Max McGillivray from Beanstalk Global. I'm doing a really interesting. Let's got a one-off broadcast today as a bit of an introduction, because we've got a very exciting filming of our Circle of Leaders broadcast series, which is majoring on vertical farming and glasshouse growing. And we've got one of the companies that are going to be heavily involved with that. We've got two of their key team on board, and we're just going to talk about their business, because I want to find out more about them for the benefit of everyone out there, because I think their technology is really interesting for a whole positive myriad of reasons. And also, we're just going to talk briefly about where we see the sector at the moment, and that's going to sort of lead into our Circle of Leaders broadcast that we're filming shortly with one of the founders. So let's do a bit of introduction. India, go first. Who are you, and who are you representing, please?
So hello, I'm India. I'm from LettUs Grow. LettUs Grow are aeroponic technology providers. So we provide aeroponic technology into vertical farms, greenhouses, polytunnels, and can also supply software that can control that aeroponic technology and other elements around the farm. So things like the lighting or the growing schedules, etc.
So India, I always find individuals like you fascinating. Your business is fascinating. You're fascinating. If it's okay to say this, if you want to have a look at the likes of India's LinkedIn profile, it's really interesting to see how people segued into the sector. But for those listening on the podcast, India, can you just give us a bit of a brief background as to yourself? How did you start this? How did you end up with the illustrious business LettUs Grow, please?
So I've had a bit of a sort of higgledy-piggledy journey on the way here. I've always been focused on food and farming. So I've been working in the food and farming sector for about 8 or 9 years now. And mostly I've focused on different innovative techniques to get sustainable food to people, whether that's community-supported agriculture projects, organic farming. I made an app that helps people grow their own vegetables at home. I worked in a lot of different sort of startup environments and a big multinational company at one point as well, though I didn't enjoy that quite as much as the startups, if I'm perfectly honest.
Well done.
And yeah, ended up here at LettUs Grow. So I've been at LettUs Grow for the past nearly 5 years now. I was part of the founding team. So I developed the marketing communications department, but have since slid into a sort of dual communications and research role over the past year, since being working in postgraduate at City University.
And I was just saying in the green room, I had the pleasure of attending the University of Northampton Sustainability Summit for the last couple of days. And one thing that came across was that businesses that don't have a proper sustainability message, they are going to fail, India, but also in the short term, they're not going to be able to attract talent like you. So unless you tell me otherwise, you're not going to be aligned to a business that doesn't, it's not being jingoistic, but doesn't live your values in the respect of sustainability. Would that be correct?
Yeah, that would be absolutely correct. I got into this industry specifically because I wanted to make a difference. I remember, so I actually have originally an English literature degree. I remember sitting in the kitchen at uni, a friend asking me what I wanted to do with my life. And I was like, you know what, I think I want to work in the environmental sector. I'm like, oh, what on earth are you doing an English degree? But I'm now doing a food policy master's, been going really well. And it's been such an interesting journey. I started off my journey coming into it, doing communications for all of these different organizations. And doing communications really helps you focus in and research, because you're writing so much content about it. You kind of end up being an expert by osmosis, almost.
Yeah, and I love that. So do you think you can create change?
Absolutely, 100%. I think one of the things that's really important, there are so many different things that are going to be really important in terms of making progress towards a more sustainable food future. But one of the things is going to be finding efficiencies within the food sector. So whether or not that's finding circularities between different industries. So whether you could take frass from insect farming and put that into a vertical farm as a fertilizer, just as an example. One of the big things is efficiencies. If you can grow things faster, if you can grow things using less resources, using less land, that's kind of help us get on our way there. We did it with the Green Revolution. Like, if you look at the land we were using 60 years ago to grow the food that we have now, we're doing that on 30% of the land, the same amount of food that we do then. So we can really, really make these efficiencies, and it's made such a huge difference. There's no way we would be able to support the number of people that we have now with our previous technology. So I think it's only a piece of the puzzle, but it is a really important piece of the puzzle.
Okay, and India, I think where it works really well with yourself and LettUs Grow is that you're very accommodating is the wrong word. You also need that expertise. You need proven expertise of people who've been in the sector for a period of time, who understand it, who can work in collaboration with all of you internally and also external. Nick, I'm trying to segue to yourself. Nick, give us, everyone who knows who you are, Nick, but just especially for those students dialed in, can you give us a bit of a background as to yourself and your role within Let Us Grow, please?
So I am head of commercial here at LettUs Grow. So I work with India on the commercial side. I'm relatively recently into the CEA sector. Max, you can pick me up on that turn of phrase later on in this. But I worked for 22 years at Floret as their head of buying, head of produce, and was in charge of sourcing all their produce for the UK factories. So I've come into CEA and LettUs Grow through a different route to India, completely different. But essentially, we share the same beliefs, we share the same views. I think that the conventional produce industry, for want of a better description, has been guilty, certainly more recently, of replaying the same things and expecting a different result. I think someone once said that was the definition of insanity. But on the other side of the coin, you've got the CEA sector that was struggling to understand what it was that made the mainstream industry tick, what it was what the problems were, that the questions were that they were trying to answer. And you're absolutely right. There's a few of us now that have made that move into the CEA sector to help those teams, to help those guys answer the questions. And I think that's really important. And I think businesses that have identified the need for that sort of expertise are the ones that are making more progress down that journey.
Yeah, no, well done. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've set up this Circle of Leaders broadcast, because we got some really interesting individuals there. We got Charlie Guy, one of the founders of LettUs Grow, who's going to come at it, I think, with a really interesting approach. And we've got some pure vertical farming growers, and we've also got some glasshouse growers. And so the glasshouse growers within the UK are suffering because of energy prices. And unfortunately, we just had an announcement this week that a big glasshouse grower down in the south has just gone into administration because of energy costs. But then the vertical farming sector still got lots of investment going in. But then there's the concern: are they ever going to make any money? But I think what's it'd be interesting to get your take on it without trying to cross the line. I think there's definitely going to be survivors in this new world, and there's a lot of fast money coming in that don't understand the sector. But again, that's why we need expertise like yourself, India, and yourself, Nick, to come together to collaborate with the likes of your system to assist people who do get it and who are going to grow for the future. And so with our Circle of Leaders, we want to see collaboration within vertical farming and CAE and glasshouse. That's what we want to see, rather than perhaps this knocking of heads. Nick, am I trying to kick a football into a goal with a goal that's not there, or do you think I'm on target?
No, you're very much on target for that goal, and yes, you're absolutely right. I think India and I use the phrase quite a lot. A rising tide rises all boats, and we're really in the point here where collaborative working together. Actually, I think if you took a dozen key players in the industry, maybe slightly more, collectively, we actually have a lot of the answers, but we're not working as collectively as we should at this moment in time. Everyone is trying to reinvent their own wheel. Yeah. Whereas, in fact, if we went to this notion of putting aces in the places, so taking the best piece of software, taking the best irrigation technology, the best form of light if you're in a vertical farming setting, the best irrigation technology, etc., then you've got yourself a hybrid system, and you're not having to spend goodness knows how much capital designing your own system to achieve what's already been done and what's already been achieved. Yeah, I think collaborative working is the key.
Yeah, India, would you agree with Nick and me?
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And one of the things that you mentioned there was that there hasn't been a huge amount of support for UK horticulture, and obviously we can see that with the UK horticulture strategy being scrapped recently. And then to sort of contrast with that, you're seeing this flood of investment into vertical farms. And some of the investors that have specifically invested in building like the world's biggest vertical farm, things not going quite so well to plan. But actually, I think that there is actually an opportunity there for some of the things that have been made with that investment, some of the technological leaps that have been made, some of the really important discoveries to transfer over and into the greenhouse sector. Yeah. So we can see huge growth advances with some of our aeroponic technology. And if you translate that into a greenhouse environment, it could be really effective. But we've been able to benefit from the kind of excitement around vertical farming to kind of get that investment to build that technology, to bring it out into the whole CEA space. And that isn't just vertical farming, that is greenhouses, that is polytunnels, it's everything.
Yeah, and India, that's why I think your messaging and your model is sublime, rather than just focusing on this narrow area of vertical farming. You can, everything that you're learning, you can benefit so many sectors within this whole sector. And yes, and it does, as you sort of intimated, we get inundated as well with companies coming to us saying, we're going to build the world's largest vertical farm. And you say, well, hold on, what does that actually mean? And in the likes of the States, it is a problem which has started to come home to roost, with how much basil do you need in some respects. And actually, just go back to the circle of leaders, we've got a lovely lady, Vonnie Estes, who's the vice president of innovation for the IFPA, International Fresh Produce Association, and she runs an award-winning podcast about vertical farming in the States, and she's very mercurial as to how she describes it. She's given us a 10-minute pre-record, I think actually from a vertical farming site when we get it from America. She's going to tell us what she's seeing, and also what we need to learn, because I've got a feeling that America's 2-3 years in advance of us within vertical farming, and so I think that's going to be fascinating. And just to mention, we've got a dial in from Joe Shaw Roberts, another mercurial individual from Kantar, who's going to give us a bit of a synopsis as to where this sector is of salads within the UK. But guys, let's just come back to LettUs Grow, because we sort of titillated everyone as to what you do. But I have to follow my sword, because Nick, if you remember, when we last did an interview together, Nick, you and I have done so many over the years. But we did an interview together up at the FPC, Fresh Produce Consortium event up at Peterborough. And I wrongly went off, India, you wouldn't believe this, I wrongly went off stating, but you're a vertical farming company. And Nick pulled me back and said, no, Max, we're not a vertical company. We actually do this. So which one of you would actually give us the elevator pitch is a bit crash, but just give us the pitch as to what LettUs Grow actually does and how that's going to be of benefit for the sector. Who's going to take that one away?
I don't mind.
Go, India.
That one. So we are aeroponic experts. So we aim to be the world's leading aeroponic technology company. So what we're doing is very much focusing sort of below the root zone on the irrigation systems. So aeroponics has obviously been tried lots of different times to varying different levels of success. I think it was sort of popularized by NASA in the 1980s. But what we've done that's a little bit different is that we've taken out all of the nozzles, all of the pressure from the systems, and instead are using an ultrasonic system. So we're essentially shaking water at a very high frequency. So imagine a sort of speaker in a bathtub and the ripples that you would get, but very, very, very splashy. And what that does is it generates a mist around the root zone. And what this does is it stops things like clogging and breaking of the systems. It makes it as simple as a hydroponic system would be. It's a completely flat bed, so you can sort of wipe it clean. You don't have to worry about any sort of like system complexity. And what we've been able to do from using aeroponics in that way, as opposed to the much more complicated nozzle-based systems, is we can put that into the rolling beds in a greenhouse or into many other different applications. It just makes it a lot more applicable to different scenarios.
India, well done. I think that's one of the best descriptions of a business model, both physically and on a business perspective. I heard for a while. Nick, come on, you've been around the houses like I've had. Does this system work?
Yeah, absolutely. It is proven. We have deployed it in, I think now 15 or 16 different examples. We've got static trials in place in greenhouses as we speak. We've got container farms running it. We've got our own farms running it in Bristol. So yes, the short answer is yes, it works.
Okay, and team, what's the ambitions here? Because we're dialed into a UK and also an international audience. Are you just looking to be parochial around 22 miles around Bristol, or are you looking to go a little bit further in India? What's the ambitions?
We're looking to do a lot further than that. So we, at the moment, I think have mostly been deploying around the UK, but are looking to expand that. Nick's probably going to be able to elucidate better what our sort of like globalization strategy, as it were, is, if he wants to share. Though it might be top secret. So I'll pass the ball to Nick.
Okay, India, we always like something a bit top secret. Go on, Nick, tell us all.
So yes, I'll just get my key client list down and read from the top, shall I? No, India's absolutely right. We do have designs to be further afield than 22 miles of Bristol, and we're already talking with some key partners in the US, in the EU, as you would probably expect, and further afield as well. I think that North America is going to be a key development market even now. With their stage of development, so I think it's going to develop further in the next few years, and that's an area that we will be concentrating on.
Okay, so let's just major on that again on this international audience. So you would love to collaborate, engage with a number of players, external stakeholders, whether that be in the UK or internationally, so that you could take forward your product. Nick, would that be correct?
That's absolutely right. We're at the start of a journey. We don't have, at this moment in time, we're not trying to plug 15, 20 hectare systems. We're in the process of developing our readiness to that in conjunction with key partners that want to join us on the journey. Those partners are mainly in the UK, but we are, as I say, engaging with a few further afield as well. But yeah, we definitely want to be engaging with those that want to improve their irrigation technology.
Okay, and Nick, what's the sweet spot? What sort of companies should be approaching you to work in partnership with you, please?
Those that are at the start of a development journey, I guess. I mean, we're not over selective on which sector or even sort of what size companies, but I guess those that are looking to deploy multi-hectare systems in the next 2 years or in the next year, 2 years, yeah, come and talk to us. Those that are looking to improve their irrigation technology or improve their yields through better irrigation, come and talk to us. Those that are those that have a passion to further develop as well.
Yeah, well done. And team, it's a bit of a difficult question to ask, but I'm just going to ask it, and I can nominate an example because it's out there in the public domain. There's recently a company called the Small Robot Company that had its main investor pull its funding because for whatever reason that main investor decided it wanted to go in a different route, and that the Small Robot Company is out looking to get investment to keep them going. But I suppose the concern is if you're a customer of the Small Robot Company, you're just thinking, well, am I going to get the support? Are they going to be here in 6 months' time? I can just answer to direct question. I know the answer, but Nick, presumably your financial model, your business model is secure. You're going to be here in 6 months. You're going to be here in 6 years. You're going to be here in 16 years. Nick?
Yes, absolutely, Max. And you know, I joined the business knowing that they were in it for the long term, and that is absolutely the case. We have a business model which shows that which plans full profitability by, I think it's 2026, and we have got good backing from our investors to reach that milestone.
Yeah, and everyone, it's in the public domain. You can see very much how LettUs Grow has been created, where it is today, and where it's going. So you can see that route of success. And as we were sort of saying earlier, with this such a dynamic and developing sector, there are going to be some companies that don't make it, but there's going to be those that succeed. LettUs Grow is definitely going to be one of those. And in India, if you're right in our duo here to ask the question, we talk about collaboration, but also data. I went to a Farmers Weekly event, so everyone, that's a major publication in the UK, and it was on a question time type forum. And when it came to the Q&A element, there's a lady stood up and she said she'd been in telecommunications for 20 years and she'd just come back to the family farm in the last 6 months. And the thing that actually quite upset her was the massive data that was coming out of farm, and there was no organized system. There was so much data there, but there's no way of that being any benefit in comparison to the communication sector, where it is far better. It's years in advance of ourselves. I'm guessing with your model, it's all about data, but can you also plug in other systems? So India, one-stop shop is a wrong expression, but I'm guessing that you've got the ability to build in other systems so that the growers don't have to go through a myriad of different platforms to try and get to the same answer. India, help me. Can your system work with other systems?
Yeah, absolutely. So one-stop shop actually does kind of sum it up. So there are two things that we want to be talking about here. So we have the aeroponic technology, which is the irrigation system, but we also have a software platform. So our aeroponic technology, that plays really nicely with everything else. We don't develop our own lighting. We sort of plug that in from other companies. We've worked with various different lighting providers, depending on what deployment we're doing. But one of the other things that we have been bringing to market is a software platform called Astara. And something that's really interesting about Astara is it takes what is often very disparate software platforms and spreadsheets and sometimes even handwritten notes that are on farms.
Wow.
Brings them all into one place. So you have your growing plans and your growing schedules. You can map out sort of from what you want, you know, say you want however many kilos of this thing, work backwards from that to your sowing date. It will control your lighting, it will control your irrigation, it will control your nutrients. It does all of these different things. It plugs into your sensors and puts all of that data into one place so that it's easy to use, easy to manage, and can be used by all of the different members of the farm. And we found that that's actually been a really big game changer. And we've been working with growers alongside. So because we have our indoor farms here, we've been co-designing it with the farmers who are working on the farm sort of day in and day out and bringing that all into one package. This is a little bit of a sneak peek. It's not fully there yet. We're going to be launching it at Green Tech this year. So you know, that's your little inside scoop.
Thank you, but it's great to have that, because again, it just shows the development, the forward thinking that you both have got. I've sort of got this vision of you know how car factories, they work with their partners on a JIT just in time basis, that when I'm thinking of minis here, that when they're starting to run out of wiring looms, the system automatically tells Bosch or whoever makes it to bring in more wiring looms, and it's just a continuous process. And Nick, you and I know so well, there's so much profitability held up within the supply chain of fresh produce. The margins are so squeezed. So anything that people could do, especially by deploying your systems, to just raise the efficiency of it and drive out that profitability within the supply chain, Nick, it's got to be a benefit, hasn't it?
Absolutely, and it can be driving profitability through enhanced yields, through optimizing those growing recipes, for example, or optimizing use of resources as well. It can be one of two things. It can be the output or the input, and all of those aspects are controlled typically by umpteen different systems. And what we're doing here is bringing it all into one, so the data is all available in one place and can be extrapolated all in one place and processed and managed. So yeah, absolutely, anything that can be done to save on resources, enhance productivity, or also save time, Max, because we're all time poor as well these days.
Yeah, and Indy, do you think actually my analogy of a very high tech car manufacturing plant is actually something that we should be looking to go to within, say, specifically within the likes of glasshouse production, to try and make it as automated as possible by deploying your technology and your software? Is that quite a good analogy that it's also good to aspire to something? Is that where we should be aspiring to?
Maybe it reminds me of something that I'm really interested in within CEA, which is industrial ecology, which they bring into things like car manufacturing as well. And that's where every single, or the majority of the outputs can sometimes be an input somewhere else. So if you have a byproduct from something in one space, you can then put that into something else. And I think there are huge opportunities within CEA to be making better use of resources for the plant waste at the bottom of the matting, so the roots and matting, for that to be biodegradable, go into an anaerobic digester, digestate to come into the system, whatever it might be. There are so many opportunities for industrial ecology within CEA. Yeah,
well done. So come on, team, are you excited about the future? You look where we are at the moment. We've just recently had a big summit at number 10 Downing Street in the UK, because there's a view that the food system is broken. Where am I going with this one? There's a great quote that I always use from an amazing fresh produce buyer in South Africa for Pick and Pay, and she always says, never waste a crisis. And you could say we're in a bit of a food crisis at the moment, but with the likes of yourselves and LettUs Go coming up with this technology, so you're sort of forcing us to adopt your technology, forcing us to be inspired by your technology to make our systems and our businesses better. So Nick, are you excited about the future, especially if we look to deploy your grade systems and your technology within LettUs Grow? Are you excited?
I'm hugely excited about the future, both for CEA as a sector and also for LettUs Grow as a company. I think we've got a couple of products here that hit that sweet spot and answer a question that's being asked, as opposed to finding a product and then working out what the problem is it's going to be is there to solve. So we've got a product here that is going to help growers achieve that sweet spot in terms of productivity, and we've got a software package that can help them achieve it as well. So yeah, I'm hugely excited. I think there's lots more to give.
Yes, India, go back to my terminology, it's one-stop shop. It sounds like there's such an advantage to be aligned to yourself. India, are you excited about the future, especially being aligned and we all being aligned to LettUs Grow?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be really exciting seeing where not just CEA, but the farming sector itself goes. We have a huge amount of pressures on us from, water scarcity to the changing climate and all of these different things. So I'm very interested to see how we sort of adapt and overcome a lot of these issues. And now we've become aware of all of the different problems that we are facing. How we can kind of minimize our impacts as well. I think it's going to be a bright future.
Yeah, well done. And I'm really looking forward to not only meeting yourselves, because you're very kindly coming down to the filming of the Circle of Leaders, but I think having Charlie Guy, one of your co-founders on board. We've got this sort of disparate community of vertical farmers and glasshouse growers, and actually having someone like Charlie being the what was it, the flux between the two, and actually creating that collaboration. You could see what, and also I think what's very intriguing with yourselves, I bet there's a whiteboard in your business and you've got the next reiteration of this that you can't tell us, and the next reiteration of that as well. So again, I think that's another reason to watch LettUs Grow, that if we partner with you, as you grow, we all with our systems can grow with you. Nick, India, would that be correct?
Yeah, one of my catchphrases is it's not just about lettuce. It's definitely not just about lettuce. It's probably not just about strawberries either. I think there's the world in it. Everyone is moving into these sectors here. And I think looking beyond those typical items, those typical products, and what else can the system grow? That's at least half a dozen people within the business all of the time. And yeah, we've got some exciting things that I can't talk about, but we'd love to very soon.
Excellent. India, let's not have Nick have the last word. India, wrap up for us. And how can we find out about LettUs Grow? Where can we find you?
So yes, I just also want to say equally really excited about where it can go and where it can integrate. And it's not just about what different types of crops, it's all about the different kinds of systems. It's not even just CEA that we can integrate into. We can also integrate into outdoor farming when it looks to things like propagation, small trees or tomatoes or chilies or whatever it might be. I think farming is a beautiful tapestry, and we have so many different things, and we need all of the different things. We need the regenerative outdoor, we need the organics, we need the animal farming, we need the CEA, we need all of these different parts, and we need them to be working together. So I'm really, really excited to see how that all sandwiches together. If you want to find out a little bit more about LettUs Grow, what we do, the projects that we've been working on, and the research that we've been doing, you can go to our website, which is lettusgrow.com. So it's a slightly funny spelling, so it's LETTUSGROW.com. It's a pun on lettuce. In case you haven't figured it out, which is why it's spelled that way. But yeah, that's where you can come find us, or reach out to us on LinkedIn. Both Nick and myself are super friendly, and we'll promise to message back.
Excellent. India, Nick, thank you very much. I think we've learned a lot today. Really, I'm quite proud. I'm now very proud that you're involved with the Circle of Leaders, because I think there's going to be we're going to create some really good things off the back of that, especially with the involvement with your colleague Charlie. India, thank you. Nick, thank you, and we'll catch up very shortly.
Bye-bye.